Hello again, folks. With the Coin-Op Classic over, it's back to some Power Grid for me. And we got a strong four-player game here this time. It's me, Selasphorus, Mastaba, and amitss1, all players with wins on this channel. So, this should be a good game too. And this is a nice map config. This one is tricky because it's basically a tunnel. In that you kind of have this one linear path. Kind of like goes through green into yellow into purple into aqua. So that can make building tricky. I will bid 8 for the 4 plant, sure. I'll absolutely do that. What'll be tricky here is whether I want to build 1 or 2 cities. And I feel like with 19 showing in the market, the answer is to pick a safe spot to build 2. Because 19 is going to block almost any really big drops from coming. 15 and 16 would be very good plans to get on turn 2, but those still aren't game breaking. 18 is the one real game breaker that could potentially come on the next turn. Anyway, I get my 4 for paying $8 for the 4 plant, and I buy my maximum 4 coal while it's super cheap. Anyway, the plants we're drawing. 19 and 23 is big. That is ugly for the futures market. And that tells me that I don't really want to play for early turn order. That I'd rather just try to get the 10 or the 13. So Selasphorus makes a solid build, Atlanta. Personally, I'd build in one of the twins here to be a little safer. That's a little less tempting for other people to build near you. But I don't know. Think what I want to do here. I think my build is going to be Minneapolis, Chicago. This secures the Midwest for me. It gives me a direct connection into the West Coast here, and also will make me the closest player to the cheap Southeast here. Unless someone else builds near Selasphorus, which I would not mind. Minneapolis and Chicago, if you build just one of those cities, someone else will probably build the other one later on. That's why I really want both of them. They give you both give you a good amount of connections. Having this extra cheap coal stored will make turn order less painful for me on the next turn too. Assuming I get the 10 or the 13. And actually, Mastaba bought the 9 instead of the 8. That's interesting. Mastaba's left with a tough decision now. The problem is, if he just builds one city, he'll only be below me in the turn order. He's not going to have great turn order if he only builds 1, so he might just want to consider building 2 to secure his spot somewhere else. Because if he just builds 1, whoever else is next to him will be able to build before him on the next turn. So my build in particular made this really tricky, because what you'll often see on this kind of map config is you'll often see a player just build Chicago, and that means that the player going last can take Minneapolis, Omaha to get themselves in a decent spot for step 1 and beyond, because it's right in the middle, so they can expand either way from there. But I cut off that option. Yep, Mastaba's going to fight in the west. Okay. Well, that's huge for Selasphorus then, because he gets to expand out of green during step 1. Very, very good, because it's easy to get fenced in step 2 when you start in green with this config. And Mastaba does the right thing building both of the twins here. I think that's the right move to make. You're not going to gain a lot in turn order from only building 1 city in this situation. So might as well build to 2 and secure your building, get your 2 crazy cheap cities early on. Literally the cheapest possible first 2 cities you can get. I thought Mastaba might have built east, though. Thought he might have built east. I will bid for the 10 here. I really, really, really want to get 10 or 13. I'm trying to stay away from the 8 because whatever plant I get this turn, I'm going to be using for a little while because of all these bad plants in the market here. Like, I would pay 13 for this. It's tricky, though. Okay, we crossed off 34, right? Yeah, we got 34 crossed off. Okay. I'll still pay 13 for this. Like, 10 is a little more valuable to me compared to other players because of the cheap coal that I stored on the first turn. That makes 10 a little better for me than for anyone else right now. So I expected to win that plant. It's just... So Mastaba obviously should put 13 up for bid. There should be a good amount of bidding for 13 with how bad this early market is. Yep. This should go for like 17, 18-ish at least, I think. If 10 is going for 13... Like, if the 10 plant is going for $13, then the 13 should be going for, like, 17, 18. That feels right to me. So we're getting close to that now. Not too far off that value, anyway. Alright. Well, Mastaba has a really strong combo now with 9 and 13. That's efficiency that'll be tough to beat in the early going here. Here's the problem. You either buy... It's just is this. Whoever doesn't get the 8 here is going to be stuck with just a pretty awful set of choices. Uranium's way too expensive for 23 to be useful at this stage. Not many other good drops that could come. I mean, there was, like, 18, 20, 21, 22. Those are the main good plants that could have dropped. 15 and 16 also could have dropped, which would have been very good here. But none of those came. I mean, it was most likely none of them would come, but I mean, I do agree with Selasphorus passing in the 8, though. The 8's not that good of a plant, honestly. So it's like, you definitely want to pass on the 8 just for the chance at any of those other drops. And Selasphorus buys 7, which is the logical follow-up to the 3. Wow, 31 is in the market right now. What the hell? Okay, we got 36 drawn, 40 and 46. Okay. I think Mastaba made out the best in that auction, and then me. 10, the 10 for $13 is easily going to make more money than the 8 for $8. Just that one less coal per turn is going to save you a lot. Anyway, I'm obviously not building this turn, so my goal is just store all the coal that I can get. Because if 31 stays in the market next turn, oh boy. And I am going to be very high in the turn order here. Because 2 of my opponents have lower numbered plants than me. 8 and 7 versus my 10. And then the one guy above me doesn't have coal. And yeah, Selasphorus' Knoxville build was very obvious there. If Selasphorus focuses on expanding north more, I could eye a jump into Raleigh possibly and threaten more of green that way. Something to think about for later. Interesting that amitss would build Boise over Seattle. Personally, I almost always build Seattle before Boise because it gives you the really cheap connection to Portland. And cheap cities help a lot in the early game. 46 out, 14 is in, so nobody's going to buy a plant this turn. Well, that benefits me and Mastaba further. And it makes me very glad I stored that extra coal earlier. Mastaba's definitely made out the best in the early game, though. He's been doing this lately where if people buy 3, 4, and 5 as the first 3 plants, Mastaba, when he's last, will buy plant 9 instead of the 8. 8 is usually the standard purchase there because it makes the most money of any plant on turn 1. But Mastaba is thinking more long-term value with the 9. Long-term value and also possibly getting lower in the turn order by only building one city on the first turn and being in a safe position to do so. I think I'm not going to store any extra coal here. Because we'll have to see what comes next turn. Because 28 becomes pretty good on the next turn. And then we could get a lot of drops after that. There's a lot of possibilities. So I'm not going to commit myself too heavily to coal here, is what I'm saying. And at least Selasphorus is driving up the cost of oil a lot for Mastaba. That's one thing to be said. Okay, I'm definitely not building if amitss is building, though. Interesting that amitss would choose to build 3. And he's going Boise, and he's going Boise Salt Lake instead of Seattle and Portland. That's an interesting choice. Mastaba might, I was going to say Mastaba might build Omaha now because he's going to stay above me in the turn order regardless next turn. So getting Omaha now will be good for him. That's an important connection for him to expand eastward come next turn. I mean, next step. I mean, step 2. Step 2, not next turn. 16, okay. There is a plant that I will be happy to pass on. We already worked through a lot of the biggest duds at this point. Like 11, 12, 17 would be the worst plants left in this game. Yeah. Not surprised that Mastaba got Omaha, though. I mean, Omaha is still... It's not as important to me as it is to him, since I already have connections further east. 16 is not a plant you want to bid heavily on because of oil already being so expensive. Let me think here. Part of me is tempted to bid on this, actually. Because... let me think. I could bid on this and build to 4 this turn. That is a possibility. I'll put in a click here. Put in a click. Just one. Just one bid. Because I did the math, and I can afford to build to 4 this turn, if I get it this way. Buying 28 and then buying the uranium for 8 and building to 4. I can do that here. Jackpot. The thing is, coal should stay decently cheap too, so I could even get some more use out of the 10 later, probably. Yeah, that was, again, one of the worst possible plants that could have dropped right there. Selasphorus... Yeah, I was going to say, Selasphorus will buy the 12 and use the cheap coal. That's the most obvious play there. And I feel like that auction helped my position a lot now. Problem is, Selas is getting Cincinnati. I have to imagine he's taking Cincinnati. I can get a nuke and a coal. Yeah, I can do this. I'm just thinking depending on what Selasphorus does. Yep, there's the build. I do have St. Louis available as a 5th city if needed. Problem is I'm kind of fenced in here. Ooh, 20. I didn't even see that get drawn. Or 33 for that matter. I could actually bid for 20 next turn. That would be pretty ideal for me. I should be able to find some point in this game where I can get use out of this coal. But building is a problem for me. Building is a problem for me. But yeah. I'll definitely bid on the 20 here. This is pretty ideal for me. Like, this is the kind of situation where I can afford to bid on the 20. Actually, though. Now, I'll put the 20 up for bid. 18 might be a better fit for me. Because that would let me juggle between, like, I could use coal on the 10. Like, I can use 10 plus 18 and burn coal and let uranium get cheaper to help my 28 in the long run. Or if I get the 20 at cost, that'd be fantastic for me. You know, I have some cheap coal stored already. I don't... Like, the 20 is a plant I could store for later. I don't necessarily need it now. So, like, I'm okay with this. I can kind of just pick off coal as it gets cheaper and continue using the 28 in the meantime. $26. This is interesting now. I mean, I definitely agree with putting 18 up for bid. I mentioned this before, but the 16 with the 18 is one of my favorite step 1 stall combos. You're powering 5 cities for 2 oil, basically the same as 26, but with better turn order. I mean, obviously 26 is still better, but this is a combo you can get cheaper. 16 plus 18. I like it a lot. Especially with Mastaba having 13 as well. He's set up very well. Although, oil is not going to get cheap. I mean, amitss needs this plant. We know, like, both of these players now, amitss and Selasphorus, both of them badly need 26. They're the 2 players in the worst position right now. And it's going to be a big turnaround for whichever one of them gets 26, I think. Now we're getting a good price on this. Yep, that's a good bid. And amitss gets 31 at cost. Okay. Well, this definitely encourages me to just stay at 4 cities and use my 28. Well, oil's only going to continue to get more expensive now with 16 and 26 both being bought here. I got my 2 plants for a very cheap cost at least. I'm not going to buy any coal this turn because I'm not building, so just going to stay at 4 cities. I'll wait to drop a little in the turn order before I start stocking up some coal. Because I expect amitss to build Seattle and Portland this turn. What I think, because I bet that's what they can afford. I bet they can afford Seattle and Portland, but not Vegas. That would be their 6th city. Because Vegas is really expensive for amitss here. 18 connection from Salt Lake. So I think they should be able to afford Seattle and Portland. Yep. Built to 5, they're not going to be able, and he's not going to be able to build to 6. He'll build to 6 next turn. Next turn, if I were him, actually what I would do as amitss is, I think what I would do is as amitss here. Actually, you know what this does? This is interesting. Even if I build, I'll stay below amitss. So interesting. Oh, Selasphorus could not build a 5th city. All right. I think I build St. Louis now. Do I? Do I build St. Louis? Is the question. Building now doesn't affect my turn order, except for mastaba. Like, what does building get me this turn, realistically? It allows me to threaten the East because I have this connection from St. Louis to Atlanta, and then I can jump past that later, so. I still think that not firing coal and just using my 28 and powering 4 cities is more efficient for me, because with the 20, you want to keep coal as cheap as you can in the long run. That's what will ultimately serve you best. So that's why I was willing to bid for the 20 in that situation. Although now I feel kind of silly. I feel really goddamn silly, actually, because 33 actually stays on the market. Like, what the hell is this? It's one of those things that hardly ever happens before step 3, that you can buy 33. So during step 1 still, 33 is really, really, really good. Like, super good. I'll bid on this. Sure. Just because there's other players who should bid on this, I think. I don't think I'm going to get stuck with this for 34. I feel like, if anyone, amitss is the player who could get the most out of this plant. Because amitss does not want to be running 31 every turn. That's not a winning formula generally, burning up that much coal every turn. So I can let these folks fight over it now. I mean, I don't particularly need 33. And also, if plants this high are coming, then that means that I'm definitely justified in building on the previous turn, because I should be able to still get a low spot in the turn order, even sitting at 5 cities with the 28 as my top plant. 32. And mastaba ends up winning 33. I don't want 32. If I were amitss, I would not have bid on 32 at all. And as for me here, I'm not buying anything. I ain't buying a damn thing. Like, a plant does not really serve me well right now. At this stage of the game. We've been churning through plants pretty quickly here, though. I think a lot of that has to do with 8 not being bought on the first turn. Because of that, everybody bought a plant on turn 2. Usually, whereas if somebody opens the game by buying the 8 plant, they'll pass on plants turn 2. So the market moved a little more quickly this way, particularly through that crucial early stage when the market was filled with bad plants. People were still buying stuff. Alright. What do I want to do here? I'll do this to try to incentivize amitss to buy oil instead of coal. And also this turn, I am going to use the 20. Just for this one turn to let uranium get a little cheaper. And now Selasphorus triggers step 2. I would have expected Mastaba to do it, but Selas will do it. So we're good. That means we're going to get rid of 14 here, and a new plant will come on. So this will move the market. Mastaba being able to power 6 cities for no resources is strong, though. And amitss using the rare Boise to San Francisco connection there. Interesting little play. Yeah, I was going to say, 20 powers more cities than 28, and I'm just doing it this one turn to make 28 cheaper to run. But 11 is in... Oof. And 44 was drawn, so we know that's the next plant that's going to come into the game. The next plant that's going to go under the deck. Yeah. The market stall does make me feel a little better, though. Also... Now uranium's going to keep getting cheaper every turn for me. Now 28 will really start to pay off. And you know where I'm building. I'm going to build in the East Coast. Because Mastaba is the player that I see as the biggest threat right now. He is going to be the richest. I need to block him from East Coast builds. Also, I bought a little too much coal. Which sucks. I didn't quite do the math on this right. Alas. I think I just have to build all the cities east. The massive oil buy from amitss. I love it. Again, Mastaba and I are definitely looking the best in this game out of anyone right now. Mastaba I still think Mastaba is the leader compared to me, but his lack of capacity could maybe hurt him in the long run. Maybe. Capacity, and then I'm going to deny him cheap builds here, too. I care about the East a lot more than the West right now. With the amitss' lack of ability to build, I'm very pleased that I did what I did. Mastaba's still gonna get frickin' Midwest cities, though. If Mastaba does not build Billings, I'm taking that next turn, I think. I mean, I don't know, though. We are getting close to step 3, right? Oh, yeah, 29 was drawn. I didn't see that. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, actually, we still have 5 more plants left to go before step 3, so there's still a little ways yet, because a plant like... The thing is that a plant like, say, 29, that's not likely to get bought this turn. Actually, if Selasphorus hanging at the bottom of the turn order could buy 29, if that stays on. That would actually be a good plant for him. It would not be a particularly good plant for any of the rest of us right now. Yeah, I think amitss is still in a big hole. Having both 31 and 32 with resources getting this expensive, that's going to be a losing strategy. Well, 24 is intriguing at this point. The problem is, I don't think it really serves Mastaba too well to buy 24 here. It's not going to give him the capacity lead in the game, and, you know, we're close enough. It's not going to help his, you know, endgame base capacity. With him having a 4 plant, you want to aim for a 6 and a 7 as your last 2 plants. He will do it, though. And I do see why we might be far enough away from step 3 that 24 could still ultimately profit from Mastaba. And he's guaranteed to replace 16 with it. amitss is bidding on 24. I can sort of see that, though. I can sort of see that. I'm not in the hunt for a 4 capacity plant, though. Hey, they're actual back and forth bidding on 24 here. Interesting. There's 21, which is a heck of a lot less valuable now than usual. With all these expensive fossil fuels here. I want none of that. Ain't touching 21 now. This is too late for 21 to be useful, except for Selasphorus. That was actually pretty unlucky for Selas to get stuck with 21 instead of 29 there. What came on the market? 35. Okay. All right, so still 2 more plants to be drawn before the step 3 card. Yeah, with as expensive as oil's getting, it was definitely much better to replace 16 than 18 for Mastaba. Even though 16 powered more cities, it was making a lot less money per turn than 18 because it only powered 1 extra city and for a lot more money because of how expensive oil is now, with 25 and 26 and 32 both in the game. Those big early game 6 capacity plants, you just want none of that. I am not going to buy extra coal this turn because I expect, at the very least, amitss to build above me this turn. And Selasphorus, I could actually stay below Selasphorus as well. This is interesting. Here's the question. Do I get billings? I don't think so. I actually think I stay at 8 cities again. Even though that's not necessarily ideal for the 20, I think I would rather go low in the turn order here, right? I don't know. I don't know, though. All right, let's think here. Let's think on this. Tempted to jump into Norfolk, actually, because that's only a $3 jump. Just thinking of what to do here in this situation. I'll no build. I'm going to try to go for turn order here. Grab cheap coal in the next turn. Mastaba builds Billings, of course. I mean, I think at this point, though, I kind of feel like trying to fight Mastaba on the money front is already a lost cause. He's far and away the leader on that area. It would be through, capacity. Making enough money to end the game before he can catch up there. That's what would do it for me. And I don't think that just building Billings would do a whole lot for me in that regard. $30 in. That is an interesting one. With trash being ridiculously cheap now, compared to how expensive coal's about to get and how expensive oil's been throughout almost this whole game, 30 is a game changer. We know nobody's going to buy a plant this turn because nobody's going to risk dropping me 30. If somebody bought it, if somebody bought a plant and dropped me 30 at cost, that would just instantly win the game for me right there. I forgot to mark off 32, so I was a little bit off in the step 3 estimation. Anyway, now, what do I do here? I think what I do is just try to build. amitss is still not a player I'm really worried about. Right. Gives me exactly 2 turns worth on the 20. And then step 3, I can buy another plant next turn, and then I won't have to run the 20. Also, I'm glad I didn't jump Norfolk there because, yeah, I can get it now without jumping. I can get step 1 Norfolk and Miami, no less. That's really good. I think what I'm going to do this turn is probably just try to build as much as I can. That is not building into Mastaba's shit. Although I do need some... I need to break into the west somewhere, and I think the Billings build would be the best option for me. This does make me glad that I did not build last turn, though. That I get first build for step 3 is a big deal. So this gets me connections into the west. So my builds ended up really good, actually. Now, amitss is the player who's blocked off really hard here. Like, amitss just isn't winning this game. Yep. Couldn't even... Yeah, well, I mean, 12 is where they do need to build, though. Guarantee they stay below mastaba in the turn order. And me. I just felt like now, because of 30 being on top, like, that's obviously a fantastic plant. So... This is interesting, though. There's a lot of bad in this market. 39 is not in this game. That's a big deal. So we do get... It's mainly like 30, 38, and 50. Those are the main good plants at this point. Maybe I shouldn't have built so much then, thinking about it. I mean, I could just... If worst comes to worst, I could just buy 34. And I can't afford not to run the 20 this turn. I need the money. $46, though, even as much fossil fuels as there are in this game. Like, somebody else is going to want 46, I think. Like, this plant has mastaba's name written all over it. It's one of the best plants left in this market, too. This is such a bad market. I mean, not super bad, but it's kind of a bad step 3 market. amitss at least gets to build before mastaba this turn, too, and likely block him further east, which is good. Mastaba shall pass on the 46. Okay. Do we let Selasphorus have this? I think so. I think so. I think. A bit a little more. Well, time to begin the bid for 30. The problem here with 46 is that after buying the plant and the resources, I likely could not afford a 17th city to end the game, as that could be my opportunity to win. As is, I think I'm doing better money-wise than Selasphorus, so... I'm going to keep bidding for this. Mastaba does not have a good market here. I'll keep bidding on this. There's a decent chance Mastaba does not get a safe 6 capacity plant. I will pass now, though. 42, that's one of those ugly plants that I can't buy at all. In this scenario, what I have to do is, I think I need to buy 34. Either 34 or 44. I mean, 34 would probably end up being about even with 44, I think. Hmm. 34 actually works out to being slightly cheaper, I think. It would make 28 a little more, $1 more expensive for this one turn. But even factoring that in... Okay, well 36, that's not a plant that I think amitss can really buy either. There's a risk there. I do think Mastaba is just going to win this game now, though. I was getting really pushed fairly close to my limit on 30 to where I could even just afford to buy resources if I'd won it. $44 is a really good buy for amitss, though. This is interesting in this situation. Ooh, 38 is there next. I mean, having made Mastaba pay so much for 38 for the 30, I have to hope that maybe that put enough of a dent in his money that he's not going to be in the best spot to win 38, and maybe I could beat him for that. Maybe? Buys out oil and amitss. Interesting. I have a play. If amitss doesn't buy at least 2 coal here, I have a play for next turn. I have a play. We'll see what amitss does, though. Okay, he does the right thing. Okay. Stocks up the coal so that he can safely run 31 this turn and still be able to run it again next turn. We know the game's ending next turn. That's what's happening here. Actually, Mastaba might just end it now, come to think of it. Well, I don't know. We'll see what they can build to, these other players. So unfortunately, I'm not going to get to execute my plan, which was to store another 3 coal in the 20 and not run it so that I could safely buy 36 next turn to get to 17. That's what I was hoping to do, but it's not going to happen. Okay, so more players are going to build to 14 to prevent Mastaba from ending the game early. Because I already built to 16 cities, Mastaba could build to 17 with both of us powering 14, and Mastaba would still be richer than me, I think. For sure. In retrospect, this massive build was not the greatest idea. Like, maybe I should have just stopped at 9. Come to think of it. Well, Mastaba will be forced to build to 14 here. I mean, that's not even that bad because he's going to stay below Selasphorus in the turn order. But yeah, if were Mastaba not to build here, I would end the game at 14 right now. And I think I would win. But Mastaba is going to build to 14, of course. We know he's a lot of money still. So he'll build to 14. That stops me from ending the game. And I obviously can't build again because that would end the game building to 17. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Okay. Problem is, there's only one plant left that gets me to... Here's the thing. Mastaba cannot buy 36, nor can I. Neither of us can, honestly. Neither of us can. I mean, we know it's going to go up for bid, right? I'll just start this at 50 now. Cut out the bullshit. And we know Mastaba definitely needs this plant. Bid to 70 again. This should go for more money than 30. And the 30 went for over 70. I'm going to go all the way with this. I only need to build one more city. I'm just going to keep bidding on this. I just have to buy 1 uranium and 3 trash. And the 3 trash would cost me just 7. Because Mastaba, I assume, will... Like, Mastaba should replace the 24. He will buy 3 trash on the 30. So then it would leave me with these 3, which would cost a total of 7. So 7 plus 3. So just 10 for my resource costs. And I would need to build 1 city. Okay. All right, I keep bidding. I can bid past 100 for this, for sure. Mastaba's thinking hard. Let's take this up to 100. I like that Mastaba's pausing to think at these points. That tells me I might be doing a little better than I think. Yep, okay. I'll accept this. This is where it gets interesting now. Here's the thing. Basically, Mastaba here is going to buy... I think Mastaba is going to end up buying 36 and hoping that... Like, basically this. I think Mastaba will take the chance in 36, and if he doesn't get coal balled out on him, he wins the game. That's what this comes down to. Selasphorus passes. Okay. Well. Okay, Masaba's just going to gamble for this and win. I have a few... Because I think people are... Although I will say this, knowing amitss, I have seen amitss in these kinds of situations. Like, buy out resources on a player even if he can't win. I've seen him do that before because he's a player who tends to play to improve his own position rather than only playing for first place. So he might buy out coal here. Like, I think it's very obvious to everyone at this point that if you don't buy out coal, Mastaba just wins. $50 is an amazing drop, but amitss can't use it. He does not need to buy a plant at this point. But yeah, here's a game where we've actually gotten through the entire deck, which is not too common to see. And it's not like this was a very long game either. Here comes the question. Does amitss buy coal? Does he buy the 3 coal? Is the question. Well, good win, Mastaba, then. Yep. And Mastaba wins the game with that. Alas, alas. I mean, Mastaba was the clear favorite throughout this game anyway, I think. I guess maybe just staying lower in the turn order was my best chance. I mean, I'm still probably going to have more money left than amitss at 17. But I'm only going to get second here. We know this is Mastaba's game. Because Mastaba still has some cheap cities out west. Yep. That's obvious. And Selas even snipes my cheapest city left. Dang it. That means Billings for me then. Alright. Oh yeah, Mastaba was so obviously loaded. That was not a question. But I might not have won anyway, come to think of it. All right, well, very good game to mastaba. I was, yeah. I feel like a lot of this game came down to the 20 versus 18, where I was hoping to drive up the 20 past 25, and then I would let it go and for the 18. Having the 28 and the 10, I felt like 18 would have suited me better than 20 did. I don't know. But it's a very good game for mastaba. And with that, thank you for the game, y'all, and good night.